taking control in your own life over your finances, your work, or your relationship. That's a lot harder than doing in the video game, and usually takes a lot more time, but it's so much more satisfying.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man Podcast, where we talk about how to become a better man, take responsibility for our mission, create value for others, and the many failures and lessons we've learned along the way. Stay dangerous. Well, welcome back to the show, guys. This is your host, John, and joined by our co-host, Adam here.
What's good?
And we just want to hang today, and we want to hang out and talk about a little bit about business. I know we said that we talked a little bit about our backstories and a little bit about our faith background, a little bit about spirituality, and kind of a dangerous man relating to those kind of terms. But we're excited to really just talk about business and life and money and how that really relates to the heart of a man.
Yeah. I think really kind of growing up in what we grew up in, what John and I grew up in, like a faith-filled families, like there's a lot of focus on like men like taking care of their family and, you know, loving their wife, taking care of their kids, being very faithful and like having those aspects really strong. But there's not as much talk about like actually doing your own work. And like obviously like there's part of it's like, oh yeah, you got to do that work because you have to provide for your family. But it's right. Like more family focused, like work is family focused in that way, rather than like actually being like you have to own your own work because there is like man needs to have a purpose.
Yeah. That's a really good distinction, Adam. Actually, like, I think, yeah, you mentioned the providing for others aspect. And I think that's really like a big motivator for a lot of guys, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's good. But yeah, like the question, we just asked the question, what kind of is a man's purpose and why does work kind of contribute to that? Like put family aside, put even like providing for myself aside. What's the purpose that a man really finds in his work?
I mean, that's definitely a very deep question. I think like that's kind of what we're trying to go into more is what is the purpose for men to work? And I don't know, like if you've ever like just done a bunch of like hard labor, when you're done with it, there's like something satisfying about it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with that you feel like you're in control of your environment. So there's like less anxiety and stress there because you understand your environment more. There's definitely a lot of aspects to it. I really think the knowing that you are accomplishing something and that you are like good enough through the work and actually like having something to strive after. Because I think man needs a direction. Because if you're without a direction, you just kind of wander aimlessly, and then you just kind of wonder like, what's the point? And we need to have a point.
Right, like in our lives, we have to have this like pointed arrow that like cuts through the bullshit of life.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And like, I think a lot of times I think the question of like, am I capable as a man? Like, can I accomplish things? Can I accomplish goals? Can I go for, can I set up the goal of running a marathon? Can I successfully train for said marathon and really like tackle that well? Can I complete the race?
Yeah.
And I think when we're able to set our eyes on something big and challenging and be able to do that well, that's not only like, oh, it feels good as a man. Like it does feel good as a man.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But like what about that is interesting for this conversation? And it's really like, am I capable? Can I do hard things? can I be a leader? When you're put in charge of a family, when you're put in charge of a business, the problems, the future, the success of the family, the success of the company is on your shoulders as the leader, as the founder. And like that can be really overwhelming for a lot of people, and they'd rather just sit in their parents' basement and play video games.
But at the same time, like we desire to know that we are capable of that.
Right. Yeah. Like, and how do we find out? How do we really learn that and know that we're capable of that? And yeah, I think transitioning a little bit into talking about business, it's easy to show up to a day job and to just put in your hours and clock out. Clock in. Okay, what do you want me to do today, manager? Okay, I'm done with that. What do you want me to do next? Oh, okay, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh, I don't have time for that. And all right, now you clock out. It's like, oh, wow, I'm drained.
Yeah, and then you go home and then you play video games or watch TV and just kind of unwind, and you have to spend a couple hours unwinding in order to feel like you're in control of something, almost. Like, as someone who's played, I would say, too many video games. Obviously, some people might disagree with me, but that's probably because they also play too many video games. I wanted to play video games because I felt like when I would win in video games, like I had control over it. Like, hey, like if it was a competitive game, like I have control over my opponents, and like I submit them to my will in kind of an alpha kind of way. Yeah. And that felt good because it's like I am powerful. But once you turn off the video game, you realize it's all fake.
Wow. Yeah. I just want for our listeners, how many of you have really framed your leisure by the question of, is this kind of real or fake? And maybe that's not even the question, because you could think like, oh, well, it's leisure. Like, of course, it's not like it's what I'm doing because it's real life and I'm doing it. But it's like, it's kind of a fantasy, I guess, is more what I'm getting at.
I'm not saying like video games are all bad. Like playing video games every now and then with the bros, with the guys, I think that's fine. It really just comes in when you are binging it to have control over something because you don't have control over the rest of your life. When it becomes like an escape mechanism to like, well, I don't have control over my real world, so I'm going to go into this virtual world and control that.
And that's the distinction, men. The distinction is this becomes a place I can grasp control. That's what Adam's really saying here, is like, instead of like being able to have that control in your life, in your business, it's like, oh, okay, well, I feel like I'm in control because I just destroyed at League of Legends and I just like really helped my team win. Or, Call of Duty, I went and just like had an awesome kill to death ratio, destroyed a bunch of guys. And all of a sudden, like, I feel like I am the guy in Call of Duty that is capable of like loading up that gun and going and shooting all those guys.
You feel like you're a badass Navy SEAL.
Right. Right. You feel like you are the badass Navy SEAL. Yeah. But then what you fail to realize is your finances are falling apart. Yeah. But you don't feel like they are because, I'm in control because I'm this video game. If it becomes kind of, if it's not like a way that I go and spend quality time with people and kind of just have some fun and play a game, like there's nothing wrong with playing a game and having some fun. But like if it's becoming that crutch where we just want to warn against, guys, that it's too easy in our own lives that this has become a control mechanism.
Yeah. And really, like the thing is taking control in your own life over your finances, over your work, over your relationships. That's a lot harder than doing it in the video game, and usually takes a lot more time. Right. But it's so much more satisfying.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit more to that, Adam, of like kind of your own story with that and what you found in the past with jobs. I know you said last episode, like, I kind of went and worked. I didn't go to school. But then what have you kind of been doing now? And what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I think like even meditating on the school part a little bit, like thinking about that, I realize one of the reasons why I didn't like school is a lot of the time I didn't understand the point to what we were doing in school. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, where you ask the teacher, hey, so why do we need to learn this? And they're just kind of like, well, you just need to because grades or something.
Do you want to get an A or do you want to get an F?
Yeah, like they don't really give you like a good answer. It's just like, well, you need to know math. And it's like, well, actually give me a practical reason. Granted, math is actually a very practical thing to have.
Yeah. But
you don't necessarily you don't use like advanced calculus in real life unless you're like an engineer, I'd assume. I'm not that smart. So there might be somebody that's like, actually, you need advanced calculus all the time, and this is why. But
well, actually, my manager at Starbucks, he was like, are you doing calculus when you mix in the rice milk? Because you're getting the ratio wrong.
Yeah, and the sine and the cosine of the spoon mixing with the water and the thermodynamics of the ice in the latte or whatever. I don't drink coffee, so I don't even know the terms. But it's kind of like, that's, I think, the reason why I was just kind of tired of school, and I wasn't very good at school either. Like it was really hard for me to focus a lot in school. But I just did kind of like a manual labor kind of job, just pushing carts in the Menards parking lot. And there's just something about it. It's like, I don't have to think to do this work. I just have to do the work. And there's something that I was able to like kind of process kind of the harder points of like high school and whatnot. Because everyone, I feel like, goes through some trauma in high school. Yeah. And if you didn't, I honestly think you're probably lying. But I don't know, maybe there's someone out there that just had a really good high school experience. And my original thought is, if someone were to tell me that, I'd assume they're homeschooled. But
I was homeschooled. We're just gonna throw a little ad in right now. If you're homeschooled, do you have any friends?
Yeah,
that's it. That's the ad.
You have friends, which I really hope you do.
I have friends. I was homeschooled. I have a lot of friends. That's why I can joke about it, because
Yeah.
But yeah. Getting back to it.
Yeah, but with that, like, I realized just doing work, even if I didn't have to think about it, there was something like edifying about it that like made me feel like I was a little bit more in control than like when I was in school and behind in like 5 classes and cramming in a bunch of homework and stressing my parents out. Just having that little bit more control was like, wow, this actually makes my anxiety go down, my stress go down, and I feel a lot better in life just because I'm doing work. And it's not even that complicated of work. And it was a clock in, clock out job.
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, I did get tired of that because I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I didn't feel like I had a journey to go on, because we're going to probably touch on to John Eldredge books here, especially Wild at Heart. And in Wild at Heart,
big shout out.
Yeah, big, huge shout out. That's essential reading for
foundational.
Like, yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, at some point, if you haven't already, you need to read Wild at Heart by John Eldredge and Fathered by God by John Eldredge.
It's the sequel book to that.
Yeah. Both fantastic. But in Wild at Heart by John Eldredge, he talks about knowing, like men knowing kind of their 3 kind of things that they need. And that is an adventure to live, a battle to fight, and a beauty to rescue. And I think a lot of the adventure to live portion of that is we need to have a journey to go on and a path before us that we're going on, so we can know where we're going and what is like the point of it and where is our destination, and trying to find our identity and who we are. And I think that's why I had like a yearning to do something else. And And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I can do school now.
Right.
So I did a little bit of community college. I still didn't like school. And then and then I ended up doing some mission work. That's not what this episode is really about. So we'll go into that later. But I did find a lot of purpose in doing Catholic mission work, putting on retreats for youth all across the country, and it was a life-changing experience. But then after that, I struggled to find my purpose. Be like, okay, where am I going? What am I trying to do? And I think it's because I was trying to put all of my purpose eggs into the faith basket. And it's like, oh, I just need to pray more, and God will tell me what to do. Right. And I was like, all right, God, tell me what to do in prayer. And it's like, God, I'm waiting.
Let it rain, God.
Hello? God? And I didn't really hear much. And which was kind of weird for me because I feel like I've heard a lot from God in prayer.
Yeah.
But now it's like a dryness. And I was like, well, what am I doing? And through a lot of thinking, I think it was God being, okay, I trust you with your life. You decide what to do. Which is, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's honestly probably for most people listening. And I'm just going to put that out on a whim because of me listening to this right now and kind of where I was at that age in high school. It's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah.
We've relied on our parents this whole point to our lives to help give us direction and kind of like, here's the next chapter in your life. It's from 5th grade to 6th grade, or whatever else you've done in sports or whatnot to that point. But all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, I've even felt from God. It's like, your purpose is to be a student. And it's like, now what? And God's just like, okay. It's like the blooper from Monsters Incorporated, the movie. There's like a animated bloopers at the scene, and it's the actual line is, okay. They're talking like Boo, or another thing. It's Mike Wazowski's talking to Boo, the little girl, and he's like, okay. It's like they're saying goodbye. Go grow up. But the blooper is, okay, go throw up. it's so good, but it's like,
I feel like there's some truth to that though, where sometimes when we as children becoming adults, we're told to grow up, and we hear that as go throw up because we're like, I really don't want to though.
Right.
That's the reason why in our generation, adulting is a verb.
Oh yeah.
Which it shouldn't be. It's just, you're an adult now, own it.
Dude. And I want to say I think we need to be given that free space as a young adult, especially as a man, to go and potentially epically fail.
Yeah. Just fall flat on our face.
Yeah. And I think sometimes parents are like, okay, I want me to try to guide and coach you through everything. And, there's this weird balance that I'm trying to paint this picture of between a guy taking no ownership and responsibility for his life and nobody being egging, go and do more. But then there's also this other extreme of you going and doing anything and people being like, oh, don't do that. Or oh, do this way. And it's just I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's let me figure it out a little bit. Obviously a lot of people want to learn from other people's mistakes, so I don't have to learn the hard way. But honestly, I think it's essential sometimes for men to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Because I think it builds character more and be like, oh, I can learn the hard way. I can fail epically, and I'm still alive. I still exist, and I can still do things, and the world is not ending, and I can actually do things. Wait, I can actually do things.
Wait, I can actually do things.
I'm capable of doing something? So, I think that's why it's so important.
Ultimately, you can lead a horse to water, right? But you can't make him drink.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like sometimes the horse has to fall down and then realize his head's in water and is like, oh, this is what I needed the whole time.
I love that. Yeah. And, you know, this is something that we're going to always continue just to chat about. And we're at time for now, but thanks for listening and tuning in today, guys. And we look forward to chatting next. And I just want to kind of close this thought on kind of taking ownership a little bit and finding some purpose and being able to go and work. If you do find yourself being in that bucket of, I work a job that I don't find much direction in, and I go and play a lot of video games, or I find ways to just like kind of blow off some steam, and take control back into my life. I just want to empathize with that and say that I think a lot of guys have been there.
Oh yeah.
And I think the turning point really can be just a deeper realization of like, I want something more out of life. And I want to know that I am the man and I'm capable. And I think that is a truth that is super central to the heart of a man.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're out there, guys, and you're listening, I just want to challenge you to do something today that's like a little bit out of your comfort zone. You know, like if you've been thinking about doing a half marathon, 100% do it. Because, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to train. I don't go and research.
Yeah.
And then read a blog for 10 minutes. You should read 4 blogs for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Total. And then develop a little strategy and then just do it. Yeah, and find yourself getting more confident because you're taking steps to do something.
Yeah. Commit now and then act.
Yeah. And we'll have more action steps and more ideas, but I just want to more paint the image of there are tangible ways that you can start to turn the tide into control. And if that's you, and you really want that, let's just join us in this journey. We're going to keep that conversation going.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on behalf of myself, John Kostohris, and Adam Thooft, thank you for tuning into the Dangerous Man podcast, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you guys next time. Stay dangerous.